Jive Hive Jeff here from Two Hacks Garage. Well, this isn't a Pontiac. It's not a Ford. It's not a Z28. It's not a Honda CL 175. It's a boat. And I'm with an old good friend here named Mikey. Mike here, he's a big boating guy. He likes to fish. Him and I go back 35 years. I stopped down because he's doing something really, really cool. He's taking this old boat that he bought. He's got a cool nickname for it, a couple ideas, which we'll get to later. But he bought this boat, it was rough, and he's gonna redo it and make it super nice. He's already done one once before. He has a lineage of boats going back with his dad, and also he has a lineage of cars with his dad, mainly GTOs. And at some point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a cars and coffee talk with his dad on that 72 GTO 455 4-speed high output car. It's a mouthful, but it's a cool car. But anyway, what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna hand this off to Mike, and he's gonna explain what we got going on.
So what we've got here is a 1986 Monarch McFast V172. It's got a Johnson V6 two-stroke 150 on the back. Basically what's happened is the boat was neglected. The gel coat has oxidized to almost an unrecognizable color, and it actually had the texture of about 400 grit sandpaper. So in the process, basically, after I've stripped all the carpet out that I can get out easily, and giving it many baths with even toilet bowl cleaner of all things, I've gone through and started wet sanding. And I actually had to do a really aggressive wet sanding on this top cap because the gel coat is so heavily oxidized. What we've got here is basically an almost finished product. If you come around here, this has all been wet sanded to 1,000 grit, starting at 220, which is actually more aggressive than really is recommended. But when you come around here to the back, you can actually see, and I think the light might be a little hard to tell, but it is oxidized and algicized so much that it actually has a green tint, and it almost feels like you're feeling the metal flake, but that's just the oxidation, the porosity from the gel coat. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go kind of have a little step-by-step as to things I've learned to do through research. Nobody's really ever taught me any of this. And kind of show you what we do to get this thing so that it's ready to start getting pieces fabricated, interior redone, and hopefully have it out here in about 6 weeks. So we're going to start off with getting ready and going through the different stages of wet sanding on this panel right here. So. So just got done wet sanding. The most important part of wet sanding, well, one of the most important parts, is this really expensive mixture I've got in here that is key to wet sanding. And it's called tap water and Dawn dish soap. It's readily available. It's extremely cheap. Little bit of dish soap, like a drop, maybe two. It just kind of helps it flow and lubricate a little bit better. But basically you want to saturate your paper, saturate your surface, just keep it wet, and that's going to keep your paper from clogging up. You know you're getting a little too dry when you actually get some drag. I like to use a sanding block. I've been sanding cabinets and trim for probably the better part of 35 to 40 years. So I can actually kind of feel it when I'm sanding, and I know how to keep my hand flat, and at times I will take, especially when I'm going towards the end, along any of the contours, just so I can kind of round it a little bit and re-blend that gel coat into itself. Started off with a 220 grit, tried not to do a lot of that. Gel coat's really thick compared to an automotive finish. So basically 220, wipe it down, just kind of get some of that dust. It's actually suspended in the water, which also makes it safer for you. Wipe it down, hit it with some 400 grit, same process. 600 grit, 800 grit, and 1,000 grit. And now this is ready for a compound. So gel coat's really pretty forgiving in the wet sanding process. You can dry sand with the DA sanders. I just don't want to spend the money on one and the air compressor involved for it. And you can do it by hand. It's just going to take you a longer amount of time. So and I kind of like the fact that you can really get in there, and that machine, you don't really have any feel for it unless you've been doing it for a long time. And I can just get in there and feel it with my hands. And now it's not perfect. It definitely needs to be compounded, and then it'll have to get a polish. I use some very aggressive compounds that are actually specifically designed for gel coat. When I first started the process and was experimenting with it, I was using stuff like Meguiar's, Turtle Wax, they're different rubbing compounds, and the thickness and hardness of gel coat compared to any of your automotive finishes, it's so much different. You have to use some very aggressive stuff. One of the ones I have is called Liquid Sanding, and it's by Menzerna. And you use a wool pad on a rotary polisher, and this stuff literally has bits of quartz and mica in it, and they're small, but you can be so much more aggressive. If you were to run that stuff for 5 seconds on a car, you could probably burn through the clear coat and half the paint. So this thing, gel coat, so much thicker, so much harder. It takes a little more to get it cleaned up and polished up, but when you do, I mean, you're bringing it back to new. So just got done with the rotary buffer, going through with the Menzerna liquid sanding. Does a great job. Takes out, I think it'll take out down to like 600 grit scratches. But it does a great job. Really you can start to see it's getting that shine back. There's going to be some discoloration. It'll lessen up the more I polish, but unfortunately, I think this boat was neglected so much, and the gel coat wasn't waxed enough and exposed to just some harsh environment. So I actually think it's got like some UV degradation and just some staining down in the glitter flake itself. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Total Boat Total Buff. And I mean, if there's any product, any company really that I could give a plug to on anything with this boat, and at least the fiberglass and gel coat and everything, just from what I've learned from the videos that they sponsor and from their website alone, it's going to be Jamestown Distributors and their Total Boat line of products. It's an interesting product to work with, but it does such a great job, and I think it probably cuts out another step. This says it's a buffing compound. I can actually use it as not only a rubbing compound, but it also kind of it diminishes into almost a polishing compound. And with a good polisher and a good wax, you really can't see needing to use a polish. That Total Buff is kind of just like, for me, in my experience, has been a one step. You just got to use it a little bit longer and let those agents just diminish a little bit, break down, and it really just gets it so prepped for a wax job. So we're going to go with this now. So this is about, I want to say, like in the $35 to $40 range. It is a little different to work with because it is a lot thinner than what you would be used to with a lot of compounds. And that was something that they were, some of the guys were saying online, but I got to be honest with you, if you kind of go slow, get it spread out, get your pad loaded up, it really does a great job. And one of the guys that I learned a lot from about gel coats and the differences in, like an epoxy or gel coat, whether it's, polyester, vinyl ester, is Boatworks Today, and it's a YouTube channel. And I think Jamestown Distributors sent it to him to just kind of check out and give a review on, and he was having some problems getting some scratches out from sanding down, and he used the Total Buff, and I mean, I think it even took out like 400 grit scratches. So, and then it literally brought it to a polished finish. So like I said, little different to get used to when you're using some of the, like the 3M heavy cut compound or the Minzerna liquid sanding. But once you kind of get it figured out and get to go with it, it cuts so much labor and time out of the process that I think of all these products that I've tried and used, this one's got to be probably, I would say, just the game changer in this process. By no means is this going to be a perfect finish when I'm done with it, but I'm also running on a budget. So respraying the boat, re-gel coating, sanding down, re-glitter flaking, all that's just out of the question. I'm also on a time crunch because the crappie are getting ready to spawn, and so are the bass. So I got to get this thing done. This stuff has been great. When occasionally I'll throw some polish on a blue compound pad and hit it with the DA and brighten some of this stuff up a little bit. This panel, because it's not really directly facing the sun very much and a flat surface, to me it looks like it's pretty much ready for just a little wipe down with some acetone to remove some of the oils and different stuff that's in all these different compounds. Just a quick wipe with acetone and hit it with some really good boat wax, and this thing's done and sealed up and just ready for more wax to keep polishing and shining it up.
So, just checking up on an old friend. It's starting to get nice out. Here at the end of March, the buoys come out. We like to fish. Cars are important, but also is having fun. We'll be checking in on this time to time. And when the weather starts getting nicer, what we'll be doing is expanding this channel into things, checking on people like Mike, checking on other people, whether it's going to be barbecues, cigars in cars, coffees in cars. It's going to be fun. So what do we have coming up on Two Hacks? Well, Eddie the Expert and Todd Z, they're taking that Z28 up to get some stuff finalized on paint. It's going to come back. We're going to do leaf springs on it and exhaust. Kyle's Big Bag Green Machine, what do we have going on with that? Well, we're going to be cleaning that up, getting some trim on there, and we're also going to start, measuring up for wheels and tires. Larry T. Bird, I have literally a speed shop of parts in my basement. The block's still getting worked on. There'll be more to come on that. Our focus has been on the Big Bag Green Machine. So more to come on all that, and I want to thank Mike. Let me stop by, check things out. And, oh, by the way, tomorrow I'm going to be at the Mopar Swap Meet at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Check that out. So I'll probably do a couple quick videos on that, catch up with some friends, and just have a good day, good weekend. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Later.
Hey, be sure, smash that like button, subscribe, share, and get out on the lake and ride the snake.